Hey guys, it's Owen and I've got a confession to make. I just totally screwed up and yeah, I apologized, of course, and I wanted to share a little bit about what just happened so that you guys learn from my mistakes and just remember this, to always stay humble with your wife. Let's talk about that on Thriving Sexy Marriage. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Owen. Me and my wife Theresa are marriage coaches, and we upload a few videos a week on this channel to help bad marriages get good and good marriages get even better. And if your marriage is absolutely important to you, then subscribe to this channel. We'd love to get to know you. Okay, so I'm out here in Palm Springs hanging out with a business partner of mine, and we're having a great time at the Clamor Convention for YouTubers. This morning I just had a business meeting with my wife. My wife is my business partner in the company that we run together, and we met with our ads manager, the guy that runs our ads for us, and I just did the dumbest thing, and it was embarrassing for her, it was embarrassing for me, and it was all rooted in pride. It was all rooted in me and my image and being concerned about my image. And what I actually did was I embarrassed my wife, but I did so in a way that embarrassed me as well. And I wanted to share this with you guys because we have to remain humble. So here's what happened is we were doing a conference call. It was a video call with me, my wife, and my ads manager. And you know, my wife is right there. She's right there on screen with us, and she didn't know what was going on with the software. So she goes, hang on guys, I don't think I'm logged into the software, or something's not working correctly. And my thoughts were like, of course you're logged into the software. We can see you and we can hear you, and you know that we can see you and hear you. So at the time I was sharing my screen. You know how that works on a screen share where I'm like sharing my screen and I'm showing everybody what I'm looking at. Well, I was very embarrassed that my wife said something like, I don't think I'm logged in, when you have to be logged in to even be on the call. And so I was embarrassed. And so I go over to Facebook Messenger and I said something like, you know, I really can't handle it when you say things like, I'm not logged in. It makes us look stupid. What I didn't realize, folks, oh, this is so embarrassing. Oh, no. Is that I was still sharing my screen when I did that. So in other words, my ads manager saw me type that message. Theresa knows that he saw me type that message. And in my embarrassment, I was embarrassed at what she did, and then what I did is embarrassed us both even further. So I'm running this call and I'm trying to, and there's this atmosphere, like there's this rain cloud above our heads, like as I'm running this call, and I'm like just thinking I just have to get off this call, like and apologize to my wife. And as soon as Robert logged off, I mean, no, everyone acted like it didn't happen. But there was a rain cloud. There was a feeling of like, oh crap, she's gonna be pissed. And I could see it in her face that she was pissed. And she had every right to be pissed. And so after Robert hung up on the phone, and I just kind of said, I said, babe, I'm very sorry for typing that up while I was screen sharing. I didn't even realize that I was screen sharing, and it was stupid, and it embarrassed both of us, and I'm really sorry. And she's gracious to me, and she says, okay, well, thank you for that. But you could tell there's still some anger there, and she needs time. She's gonna need time, and I'm gonna apologize more, and I'm gonna speak her love language throughout the day, and I'm going to communicate with her in a way that shows remorse, right? And so my message today, guys, is just to always remain humble with your wife, right? I struggle with pride. I've been blessed. The Lord has blessed me in my career, and sometimes I think that that's me that did it all. And so I have this pride, and I take it out on my wife like, hey, you made me look bad. And all of that, guys, comes from my childhood. It comes from my childhood where I had a mother who was extremely embarrassing and brought shame to our family constantly. You know, I struggle with those things. So for me, there's I get very concerned that our public image is always like on point, you know what I mean? And that's I think a person of the world would say, oh, well, that's totally reasonable. But as believers and as a husband and as somebody that wants to live to a higher standard and be free from the concerns of the world, that's not acceptable, right? We have to remain humble and know that even when your wife makes mistakes, you make your own mistakes, right? And even though my wife probably, said something that maybe probably could have just not been said, I went ahead and did something that probably didn't need to be done, but instead I could have shown grace to my wife and just let her work through that problem, waited until after the phone call, and I want you guys to remember this embarrassing situation, because sometimes I think if your wife does something that offends you, you might take it one step farther and do something that offends her, and then you're in this cycle of offense, right? And that's never a place you want to be, because it's hard to jump off that cycle. The other thing is that if your wife is doing something that embarrasses you and then you kind of like scream at her, and I know this happens like in Costco, like, I don't know, maybe your wife is lagging or looking at something, you're like, come on, babe. And maybe you say it a little bit too loud and 3 people like turn their heads and they're looking at you. Show grace at all times, right? Just as God has shown you grace when you don't deserve it, right? Show your wife grace in those moments and wait until it's private. Wait until she's caught up to you at Costco and pat her on the tush and say, hey, you know what? I want to get out of here. It'd be awesome if you could kind of keep up with me, and maybe you could look at this stuff when you're here with the kids alone, but keep it to the family. Just as I should have not typed anything to my wife and then just sort of waited until after the call and said, hey, in the future, if you're having a tech issue, like, type it to me or tell me afterwards. Anyway, do you have any advice for staying humble? I would love for you to share it with the community below, and even share it with me. My goal on this channel is not to be your constant educator, but to walk through this marriage thing with you so that we all learn from each other, we all grow together, and that our marriages are a symbol to the world that marriage is good and beautiful, and that God's design for marriage and family is supreme. And I want to stay humble even when I'm talking with you guys. That's all for today. Be sure to geek out on some other videos, and I wish you guys a thriving and very sexy marriage. We'll see you next time.